that we even never get. Thank you, Nikita. We never get to actually see. So we want to focus on leadership skills for women. We want to focus on mentorship. We want to focus on fellowships where you have fellow women to count on. We've had experiences where women bring down fellow women. So we are saying, can we build fellowships? Can we build a movement? Can we have networks where women know they have a place where they can go and be vulnerable and ask for advice without being judged? So our vision is to create a world where young female leaders are widely represented in senior leadership roles, driving innovation and everything, because we must be represented. If we are not represented, no one is going to speak for us. And that is our mission, and those are our values as a program. Leadership, empowerment, advancement, and diversity. Now, I usually have to explain diversity because they say, why are you leaving out men if you believe in diversity? Diversity, we are believing in everything diversity minus men. So Gabriel, don't come for me, please. So who should join? Of course, I've already said we are targeting young female professionals with leadership potential, aiming for senior executive roles across the industries. Now, I wanted to stop here, but maybe before I stop, so some of the modules that we run are here: foundations of leadership, strategic thinking and decision making, executive communication, etc, etc. Today is not my day, so I'm avoiding. So we have a team of coaches that we work with, and we'll be able you've met some of them. We have other people who are in the background who prefer not to be very visible in public, but they are on the call, so they know themselves. We send you greetings. So thank you everyone for your support. Thank you for making it on the call this morning. Thank you for choosing us. Now, without taking much more time, I want to invite Barbara in 1 or 2 minutes to introduce our speaker for the day. And I want to say thank you, Coach Gabriel, for choosing us. Thank you for being part of what we do. Thank you for investing in today's generation. And thank you for choosing these hours to spend time with us and to empower yourself in this Ugandan community. But I want to also let you know that it's no longer Ugandan community. I think on the call, if I can ask people to put their countries, we have people from Ghana, we have people from DRC, we haven't tapped your market, Gabriel, so you should take us to Kenya. Though even when I have roots in Kenya. But we have a diverse community, and I think that's what we talk about when we talk about diversity. And of course, we have a team from USA. So that's the team we'll be meeting this morning, Coach Gabriel, and over to you, Barbara, to introduce to us our speaker for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Coach Dorcas, for that brief. 2 minutes, very short a time for me to describe and introduce our guest speaker, Coach Gabriel Nyamu, but I will try. Who is Gabriel Nyamu? He is an honest, smart, and intelligent HR professional with excellent consulting skills. He is a purpose coach, a growth partner, a leadership and organizational transformation consultant. He is a certified strategy execution consultant, XPP. He is also a balanced scorecard professional. He is a certified human capital transformation consultant with Institute of Human Resource Management, Kenya. He is a data scientist. Gabriel has an advanced and excellent statistical skills. A student of the University of East London. He's a member of the CEOs Association. He is a founder, Purpose Bus, founder, Inquest Research and Consulting, convener annual purpose fest. He will be explaining all this. I cannot leave behind the fact that Gabriel is a husband, Gabriel is a father, and a purpose coach. He has a life purpose, and his life purpose is enabling human potential through fulfilling, impactful, and transcending living. He has a missional commitment to transform mindsets for a redemptive purpose and transgeneration-led impact. Does a lot of corporate speaking engagements on purpose-led topics, and also is so obsessed with individual growth. So we are in the right place. I don't think we'll regret listening to him the few minutes that he's going to offer. I just want to say thank you, Coach Gabriel, for honoring this, for allowing to spend this too much time on your side, because I know you don't have all this time. But thank you so much, and you're welcome. Over to you, Coach Lucas.
I can't add anything. You only forgot to say that you're the reason he's here, because he's your coach. So welcome, Gabriel. Take us away. Enjoy. This is a good community. Don't be intimidated by the ladies. You're in a safe space. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dorcas. Thank you, Barbara, for the great welcome. Just to do a mic check, I hope I'm audible.
Oh, yes, you are.
All right. Okay. It's amazing. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, depending on different geographical differences of the audience. I'm so honored to speak to these great ladies who are transforming the world. I've just listened a little bit about your mission of commitment, building the leadership of capacity in women, especially at the C-level, something I'm also very passionate about across board. And it's quite an interesting that, of course, I can see this consciousness within the various coaches here in terms of making that woman who is able to lead with a purpose. And I think we'll be talking about that in a few. So my name is Gabriel Nyamu. I'm currently in Kenya, and I'm a purpose coach. As Barbara has introduced me in a brief, I'm very, very passionate about, first of all, purpose-led living, because I do believe that every human being has a unique redemptive purpose that they carry when they were born. And when you're born, you owe the world a debt. There's a life debt, because your life is an enterprise, and that enterprise needs to pay debt before consummation. And I happen to have a privilege to have interacted with thousands and thousands of people across the globe in various capacities. And I've seen the voidiness of life. And maybe just before I share my few slides, I'll just share a little bit of my background. My first orientation within the corporate space was in a bank, in one of the leading bank in Kenya. And when I joined the bank, in that year of my work tenure, I happened to be posted in HR. Though that was not my background. My background was in mathematics, and I love numbers. As Barbara said, I love statistics, I love coding, I love computing. But I was posted in HR. So you can imagine you're dealing with the people on a daily basis. And I was so structured. I was a bit introverted back then, extremely actually, because I had a scientific mindset. And therefore, when I was posted in HR, I got confused fast. I mean, what do I need to do with people, listening to them, showing empathy, the social skills that I needed to have? And in our third year, we did a retrenchment. There was a retrenchment that was happening because the bank was going through a transformation. This back around 2007, 2008, I'm talking about 17, 18 years ago. So we were going through a process for scaling down. And we were releasing approximately 104 employees that time, and most of them were senior management. Because of my numerate background, I was posted in benefit section that time in my third year. So I was the one in charge of employee benefit, insurance schemes, medical schemes, calculating terminal benefits. The people who are being retrenched, they happen to pass through my desk. And guess they were passing through my desk to be able to be given the terminal benefit, the last payslip. And because I was the one computing their terminal benefits, I happened to have interacted with almost everybody, and approximately like 7 of them. And when I was passing through my desk, I had a chance to have one-on-one chat with them. And guess what? Out of the 97, 94 are very bitter. They were so bitter in terms of who gave my name to be in that list of retrenchment. And some of them had served between 20 and 30 years. The oldest had served 34 years. I'll give you an account of a lady. Unfortunately, she was a lady. One lady who had served for 27 years. And she had already had all the children. She had parented all her children. They were actually working in UK. So she's what we call empty nest. You have no baby in your house. It's you and your hubby. And she had quite accomplished everything in life because she was a landlord. She had invested. She had hundreds of investment in terms of even property. We knew because in HR, of course, you get to interact with a lot of confidential information. So I knew this lady is quite well up, living in the best top 2 estates within the area. I mean, you could afford life in what you may call this is success in life. And she sat on my desk, and I was a 3-year-old employee that time, so quite green and ambitious to also one day grow. And she looked at me and said, Gabriel, yes, I'm happy I'm taking home this nice package. The bank had given them a very nice package, tens of millions at that time. And she actually shed tears and told me, I'm okay, yes, I'm going home with all this pack. I have parented, I have over 27 years of experience here, but I still feel I'm going home empty. And I remember I looked at that lady and I kind of got confused. Why would you tell me you're feeling empty? You've been a senior executive. She was a C-level, literally. You've attained everything, humanly speaking. Actually, it's what even myself as a 3-year-old employee is looking forward to achieve. To have a good house, drive the best car, parent my children in the best school, world class. They're all working abroad. I mean, what else? You can afford a holiday anywhere in the world, anytime you want. I thought that's what I was also looking for. And I got confused. Why would somebody tell me they are empty? And I started searching. What is this thing after you kind of have attained all life success? If you don't fulfill, you still feel empty. And that's why my journey of purpose began. And I discovered that even if you succeed, but in the long direction, because there are people who are busy succeeding, but sometimes we tend to succeed in the long direction, you still find voidness. There's a lot of emptiness, and there's no meaning and value for life. Now, that's a little bit of my background, and I have so many stories I'll give along the way in terms of my interaction, because after that, I needed to pray and ask God, show me the way. I need to discover this thing. And of course, within around 4 or 5 years, I was able to get clarity of my life. And that's why I endear to get into a journey to help other people to walk through this journey, not in a transactional way, but in a manner that is fulfilling, impactful, and transcendent. We call that fit living, F-I-T, fulfilling, impactful, and transcending life beyond your lifetime existence. So that's kind of a quick brief. Maybe somebody can allow me to share. I can say I think I'm not able to share my slides. I want us to share some few nuggets around this season on what we are doing and why this topic is very critical, and then touch a little bit of concept of purpose and leadership. And then after that, I can engage into a Q&A session. Let me see whether I can be able to share. Not yet.
Nikita, can you allow
Nikita?
to share?
Yeah, not yet. Let's see. I think now I can. Just a second. Somebody can confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about purpose leadership or purpose-led leadership, whichever that you may want to call it. And as I've shared that brief, I'll also share another perspective of, I also met a business person who is very successful. Actually, apparently, I met him in Uganda, in Kampala, in one of my tours. And we met in a golf club somewhere, and this gentleman is well accomplished. And in a few exchange of conversation, he told me what he does. I told him what I do. We kind of, exchanged a lot of stories. And one time he told me, Gabriel, I'm running a business in almost 7 countries, quite successful business in multinational space and footprints. He told me, I want to sell that business. And I asked him, why do you want to sell the business? Because I was happy 10 years ago. So I asked him, okay, tell me more about the 10 years ago. As a coach, of course, you probe and interrogate just to establish more information. So tell me more about it. And he said, 10 years ago, I had made quite enough success in my business that even if I could have shut it down that time and closed it and dissolved it, I think my children, myself, and even my probably second generation could probably survive comfortably, can live comfortably without even much struggle. So I asked him, okay, and now tell me more about it. He told me now, that time, 10 years ago, I had 60 employees, and we have grown almost 10 times. Currently, we have 1,500 employees. They are across 7 countries in the world. I can't make a stupid decision even to close that business. Tomorrow, I'll appear in BBC and CNN, about a business that closed down. I can't do that. However, the reason why I started it, I don't think I really need it right now. I want to exit and do other things. So I asked him one question: why did you start the business? And that conversation continued for another 2 hours because the question of why wasn't clear on him. Yes, he could have started it to earn a living, meaning, of course, to be able to, get good money, economic sustainability, financial freedom. But when that is fulfilled, question is, so what? And this is a question that, of course, many people are struggling in the world, in search for meaning, search for purpose. And that's why this conversation is very critical. But then let's position us as leaders. How do we then, as leaders, lead with a sense of purpose so that we can nurture others also to live purpose-led life? That's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to rush through the process because I have only maybe 1 hour so that we can have maybe a question and answer forum towards the end. I think my introduction has been done. That's my family there. And I think in leadership, we always say, if you can't lead within your family, that's the first cohort God gives you, then it's very difficult leading to go and lead out there in our corporate spaces. And I know I'm speaking to women here who are also probably family members, and I'm sure we are also leading as much as we are eyeing to become C-level leaders in our marketplace. We are also C-level leaders and purpose leaders in our family, which is also very critical. Now, because of the background I mentioned, I got a vision to initiate a global movement. And this global movement is an international purpose-led federation which drives purpose-led mindset across the world. And what we did is that in the month of October, why Barbara reached out to me is because we branded the month of October, just the way we have various themes in different months. I think last year, the global people are celebrating, I don't know, fight against suicide and all that. There's another one for mental wellness. There are months where we remember cancer and HIV, many other things I know we have seen. But there's no month in the whole world that actually make people reflect on purpose. So we initiated this in 2022, just after COVID. So the month of October, we branded it as International Month of Redemptive Purpose. And we are already engaging United Nations to see whether they can endorse this. It is something that we pioneered in 2022. And that's why we are talking about this topic today, because the whole of this month, we are reminding people about the question of why they live, why they do what they do, because it's an International Month of Redemptive Purpose. That's why we are here. And the whole month is dedicated to that. Our theme for this year is building for transgenerational impact, meaning what you're doing, can it transcend generations? So that we are not just living for ourselves. You are a generational trustee. And we are one generation away from extinction, meaning if you don't take responsibility of our time, there is no future. So we are a generational trustee. So we want to push that agenda for people to live, whatever you're doing, whether you are a CEO, you are a leader, you're a business founder, make sure what you're doing can be able to transcend generation. And then on 12th of October, we shall have the International Day of Redemptive Purpose. We'll have a brief celebration. And then the last day of October, we shall have an annual Purpose-led Leadership Summit here in Nairobi. It's our 3rd edition that we are running this. And we also cooperate with what we call Purpose for Impact Annual Awards, where we celebrate purpose-led leaders and purpose-first organizations globally. So that's the brief quickly. So in the month of October, we are sensitizing people on a number of topics. There are 6 of them. I'm not going to indulge on it because this is not necessarily why I'm here, but just to give you a picture that if you represent an organization which you may want us to come and speak different now from this association or this movement, we are offering free speaking engagement in these 6 topics for free in the month of October alone. So if you are representing an organization that you may want us to come and speak about all these 6 topics, purpose-led leadership, fit living, purpose-led venturing for those who are in business, purpose-led manhood, transgenerational legacy, and of course, modern purpose-first culture, we are available for these. Now, with that brief, let's talk about now purpose-led leadership and the discussion from, I'm going to talk about a little bit of some global outlook, and then I'm going to talk about the case for purpose-led leadership, and then finally a quick session where we can engage, because again, it's a co-creation forum. I also want to hear from you, your perspectives, which I can also be able to learn 1 or 2 things. Let me start by first of all giving you some background.
Yeah.
We are living in the 21st century. Sorry. All right. Okay, good. Sorry, I thought it was a pardon. So, okay, sorry for that. Now, we are living in a world where we have grave miseries. These are kind of unfortunate realities that we are living in 21st century. Number 1, we have too much knowledge without conviction. People have been chasing for knowledge, especially the last century, I think. People have really oversaturated with a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge. People doing one certification to another. There's a quest for that. But guess what? Sometimes you don't have conviction. The reason why you find a doctor who knows smoking is bad and you tell a patient stop smoking, but that same doctor, after the consultancy, after consulting the patient, the doctor will go to the balcony and take a puff. Does the doctor lack knowledge? No. We have too much knowledge, but less convictions. We have work without gainful meaning. People are working so hard every day, but if you question them and you ask them, do you get fulfillment? Is there meaning for what you do? They can't be able to tell that. In fact, globally, this is the reason why we keep saying over 87% of working population are disengaged. So they kind of wake up every day, but the things they do, they can't attach meaning to them. But they have to do it because they have to survive. So people have been reduced into survival mode, and therefore they are just barely living for existence, not for impact. They speed without direction. There is too much emotions. You go to many cities, walk around the whole world. I still have traveled a little bit in the world, in many continents, and people are in motion. There's a lot of motion, but with no progress. A lot of speed. People are moving, doing from project to another project. A lot of activities, call it so. But sometimes you question somebody, what is the direction of this? And why is this direction the right direction? They can't answer you. There's relationships without love in the world. This is purely, again, meaningless and purposelessness. There is profit without purpose. Like that gentleman I talked about, he has a multi-billion company in 7 countries, a lot of, successful. But on the other side, the question of why is still not very clear. I'm a believer, and I don't like superimposing these across, but I always say, again, there's a lot of spirituality in the world, but of course, without God. There's growth without impact. There is wealth without health. There is intelligence without absolute truth. Too much intelligence. With an AI space, we are talking about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of intelligence in the 21st century. But when you try to question, is there one absolute truth that has transcended those thousands of years, or scientists will call them billions of years, the galaxy have existed? What is the absolute truth? It is not clear. In the organization also, we have also grave ruins, change without transformation. But remember, these organizations, they have leaders who are leading those organizations. Too much changes. You hear, I do a lot of consultancy. I'm a strategy consultant, therefore I spend a lot of time in organization transformation. Companies are going through digital transformations. There's acquisition and merger. you're buying off organizations and other businesses globally. And there's too much change, but less of transformation. Motion without progress, I'm going to run fast here, growth without sustainable impact, investment without benefit realization, work without gain for meaning, I think I talked about that, speed without direction against the repetition, productivity without performance. We are reading people who are pushing a lot of productivity, meaning they can account the day from 5 to 8 or even to 9 at night. Too much outputs and activities, but sometimes not necessarily performance. And then finally, of course, profit without purpose. Why am I saying all this? Is to anchor that we are living in a time where there's an increasing voidness in many things, and it's a cutting across the geographies. And the essence for this is then why I will make this conclusion that every human being has a purpose that should impact people and planet. There's a debt everybody has to pay. And our place of leadership should be defined in the context of how we influence people towards a unified vision in a purpose-led direction. That's the definition of purpose-led leadership. How do we influence people towards a direction of purpose in a unified vision? Now, because of this, you'll discover that naturally, as human beings, we struggle with these things. We struggle with our identity. Who am I? Where did I come from? And even people that we are leading in organizations, if you're a manager, you're leading employees, guess most of them are in heavy struggle. There's a human quest naturally for identity. That's why we want to identify ourselves with something. We sometimes can identify with nature. We can identify with a spiritual reality. And it's common for every human. You must be identified with something, even identify with an ideology or a philosophical idea. We like assimilating ourselves because we have a quest for identity. Then there's a quest for purpose and finally destiny. Where does all things end up to at the end of the day? This is where we talk about legacy. Does my life end when I die? Or is there a transcending nature that can continue long after I am dead? That my existence can continue manifesting, can continue influence people or the planet long after my life is gone. These three things are the heart of it. And therefore, a purpose-led leader first must be able to anchor these three. I call them the triunion concepts of life. So as a purpose leader, if you lack the consciousness of these three things, then it becomes very difficult to become a purpose-led leader because you may just be reduced into what we call a transactional leader. Let us reflect on this quickly. If somebody is to ask you, what are you building? Because in life, we are building something. You're building a transgenerational impact that's likely to transcend you. But what is that literally? If somebody is to ask, what are you building? If your life is a building block and you're setting up a foundation to construct something, and your life is maybe one layer of that building block, what exactly is your life building? And my life, Dorcas' life, Babla's life, Nikita's life, all of us are building blocks into a planetary universal structure that you are establishing within a community. And when you discover that we need each other. But what exactly is your life part of in terms of building? It's a heavy question I always, especially board members, leadership, whenever I have an opportunity to interact with them. Then what will creation mean if you are never born? When we read, and I think I was talking yesterday to another company, I was speaking to their employees. When you read most of the people, the heroes of the past, we read about Winston Churchill, the former president in US, and people who really drove revolutions, Nelson Mandela. Do you know, largely, we are never told about the titles even they hold most of the time, unless you do a lot of historical reading. We are not told even sometimes the school they went. We have not even been told their profession. Were they HR, or are they project manager, or are they whatever profession that they are in? We are not probably even told sometimes even their family. Sometimes not very clear. But the only thing that transcends 300 years after they are dead, is actually the impact that they made during their time. But what is that really? What is that the creation will miss because you are born? If you are right, you account 300 years to come. So you fast track 300 years to come. What would you write of yourself backwards? These are questions I give most people when you're going through this process. And then how will your life transcend into the future? And then finally, what footprint? If you are a point of the ball pen, which is writing a signature in the universe of your existence, and your life is a signature written on the world, what will be that remembered? What is that footprint or signature that you live in the planet that when you die, it is actually going to translate? Let me give you a story briefly. I had a privilege to consult for a company in Singapore. It's in the automobile world. It's a 300-year-old business. Now, I don't think in Africa, and I've really engaged a lot of many countries in Africa, rarely will you find a business that goes below what you call the second generation. Very, very rarely. So I met this family. It's a family business, 300-year-old. It's been managed by the 7th and the 8th generation. 7th and 8th generation. Now, I asked one of the family members who is actually the chair of the business, currently who is now like the steward of the business. And I asked the gentleman, how have you been able to sustain 300 years of legacy? And the gentleman told me, Gabriel, this one thing. When we are handing over our business to our children, we don't hand over balance sheets. I know for us, most of you maybe are managers. We know the language of finance. Balance sheet, income statement, logbooks, title deeds for properties, share certificates from the security exchange. You know, he told me we don't hand over any of those. The only thing we hand over to our other, the generation hand over, when you're handing over to your children, is the conviction of why we started this business. And wait a minute, I said, wow, this is amazing. Because if you hand over balance sheet and the children do not understand the why you started that business, let me tell you, they are going to squander all everything. And that's what you find in the second generation, that generation, all the wealth you created and the empire you created is wrong, forgotten, and you have forgotten about you. But it is very hard to forget convictions. Why? It taps into the intuitions. It forms the fabric of your consciousness. And your children actually will jealously safeguard. They will jealously defend the conviction, not the balance sheet. And even if they go through challenges, they are going to defend and be resilient to overcome those challenges. And that's what I'm saying. What is that signature of life that your life is writing in this footprint in the universe that you remembered in future? It's a very heavy conversation. Now, some few pointers or some few reflections again on this. One is that you do not need to do leadership. You become a leader first, then you lead. Now, we have a challenge in some traditional leadership. One of the things that I got to experience in my corporate space, because at least in the last almost 20 years, I've been in the corporate space, both as a consultant, also initially, of course, as a HOD, as a manager at one point. It's one experience I have. One time, when I was working in the bank, we sponsored our senior leadership to go to London Business School. Now, for those who have read a bit long, and I can see most of us here probably, you may have been in that space. 20 years ago, I think the leading, prestigious university people used to envy is what we call London Business School of Economics. Even before MIT, Stanford, Harvard were kind of that time, I think they were still taking shape. London Business School was the top of the world. We sent all our top leadership there, over 20 of them, the senior, these are C-level, CFO, COO, whatever, the C-level, we sent them to London. And I was in HR. So when they went, we hoped when they come back, they are going to transform the organization in a certain way. We expect behavior change, mindset transformation. We expect they are coming and to come and steer the bank to become a Pan-African bank. We had a lot of expectations. And they went there for 2 weeks. And guess who are the speakers? The speakers were the top-notch guys in the world, including presidents of the multinationals, presidents of other banks. You find president of Citibank, president of APSA, like what you call formerly Barclays Bank. The presidents were the speakers in that forum. So when they went and came back, we were trying to look for what we call benefit realization of that experience. And they came back. 4 months, we are trying to do knowledge sharing, to come and tell them, can you transfer this knowledge to others? We are trying to get for what you may call return on investment, because we spend a lot of money that time, almost 500,000 US dollars. So you're trying to check, is there value for this? And guess what? We were largely more disappointed from HR. We expect leaders who come and, of course, steer this organization ahead, have a different mindset. They continued as usual. Very little transformation. And I started discovering, you know what? Leadership is not something you do. And if you position leadership in something to do, you only reducing leadership into a checklist. A checklist is where I know a leader can communicate effectively, strategic thinking, vision casting, all those things. That is a checklist. But until leadership becomes something you become part, you become a leader, then you lead. Like the story I gave the Doctor Who, you can know how to lead. So you have a checklist, but that does not make you a leader. Leadership has to do with the becoming. Who are you becoming? And that's what we talk about role modeling. If you don't become it, it is very hard to do it. You'll just be mostly transactional. So leadership is not something we do, it's actually what we become. But the question is now, who are you becoming? That's a question we can talk for a whole 1 week seminar or a conference. Then, of course, some few suggestions here, and I believe in God, and I know I talk to people who are probably even not believers of God, but I usually say this: even if you say you don't believe in God, then there's nature. God never created a job; He created redemptive work. There's difference between job and work. Many people are looking for jobs, whereas what they need is work. Work is always redemptive because work is connected to the needs in others in which you have provided redemptive impact. Let me give a story around this. I met a gentleman who is in the apparel industry. He stock what you call men's suits. He has a very big space here in Nairobi. He does very nice fashion, for suits. If you need a suit as a man, an official attire, he has perfect, top of the notch. And I remember when I went there, just to cut the story short, he told me, Gabriel, by the way, I don't sell suits. And I had gone there to buy a suit for myself. And I told my wife, I want to dress well for my, dress for the park. And when I went there, he told me, I don't sell suits. And he made me get a concept that I have lived with for the last 7 years. He told me, I don't sell, I dress people. And I'm going to share a slide around that concept. Now, there's a difference between selling suits and dressing men. Those are two different things. But you can be two of you in the same business, doing the same business, but those two philosophies are different. Selling is so transactional. It's you come, size a suit, you give me the money, pay me the dollars, I give you the suit, and that is done. But dressing, you care about what somebody looks. That means if the suit does not fit you to the inch, you don't look the part. Even if you give me millions of money, leave the suit is my suit. And that's what that gentleman told me. Now, doing or selling the suit is a job, and anybody can almost do any job. But dressing people is redemptive work. And you can be in the two business, but with different mindset. Now, most of us here could be accountants, could be HR. Do you know those sometimes can be jobs? You have to find the work in the job that you do. And this is a very big challenge in the 21st century. So when people say that they are unemployed, you can be unemployed from a job. There's redemptive work for you if you only discover. And guess what? That's your purpose. Then, of course, you only get fired and retire. Jobs have retirement. You can only be this much as a Praba, as a HR director, as a sales director, as a chief commercial officer. But guess what? Nobody can fire you from your lifetime purpose. It's a missional. Purpose is lifetime. So there is security. You can only have job insecurity, but there is no insecurity in purpose because it's lifetime. Even if you fire me, you cannot fire me from my purpose. I will only find another place, another domain to extend my purpose, even if I lose a job. You can lose a job, but purpose, you can only neglect it through disobedience. These are the things that mostly people are not of men, they are not coached in our life. We learn in the hard way, maybe when in our 60s, we discover, wait a minute, life had a meaning, life had a purpose, but we were all busy pursuing jobs and positions and titles without seeking redemptive purpose. I hope we are clear so far. And we will still follow enough. Just how
yes,
okay,
we are
thank
still
you,
with you.
You know, I have violated the rule of public speaking. I should make sure at least we are engaging each other in pause and thumbs up. Kindly give me a thumbs up if at all you're able to continue listening to me, just to make sure at least I'm not alone here. Now, number 4, as I start building, I'm building a foundation for this. Number 4, a job is mostly for your survival. Work is for impact for people, to people and planet. Now, I won't indulge on this. This is what I do on a daily basis in terms of purpose-led coaching and many other concepts, but I just wanted to give these nuggets just to allow us or kind of raise our consciousness on this journey. But what is I call it the trapping or the hindrances for people to focus on this journey? Guess what? There's something we call a human trapping, and it has 3 dimensions. The first dimension is called the dimension of survival. Now, the survival is where you earn a living, pay bills, subsidies, live for yourself. Imagine being created or living for yourself. You are created to live for yourself. And sometimes we chase these things and discover actually we've always been living for yourself. You wanted to get a mortgage, get a good house, get a nice job, get a good family, parent them, finish, and that is it. And sometimes all this is anchored to me. And mostly it's a survival gear. That's a one human trapping, and it's quite very dark. It gives you a lot of emptiness later. So because the question is, so what? Then if you overcome the survival, you get to another level we call engagement. Now, for those in the corporate space, this is usually where the trapping is. In the corporate space, you have what you call human engagement. Engagement means you are part of the productivity funnel. You can chunk throughputs and outputs. So you can account time, meaning what you did from morning to evening, you can account it. But it does not necessarily mean that which you are accounting is actually meaningful. This is why we say people are too busy. There's too much of engagement, but sometimes zero impact. Now, the last realm is what we call the impact realm. And this impact realm is where now there's fulfillment, there's legacy, there's transcending nature, there's well-being, there's redemptive nature. And to get to that, you have to be very selfless. Now, the engagement realm is where majority of people are. Of course, there are majority who are in the survival, but the middle class will always get themselves into what you call the engagement realm. You can tell me what you did this week. You can account from Monday to Friday. You can account time. You can give an account of time, but that not necessarily mean that there is impact in it. You may just be very busy, very engaging, too much motion with no progress. And these are trapping. So the thing is to raise consciousness, to be able to discover in which realm are we operating as leaders or emerging leaders. Now, let me give you some global outlook. We have many things that are shaping the world today. One, we are moving from profit to purpose. I don't have time really to go this. It might be too much of information overload there. So I don't have time, but just to anchor on this. The world is changing on a number of perspectives. We are shifting from profit to purpose-led. We are moving from controlling to empowering. We can't control human beings. The best we can do is to empower them. And that's a lot of a purpose-led leader. We are moving from hierarchy to network systems where we have no bureaucracy. We are moving from planning to agile experimentation. We are moving from privacy to transparency. We are moving from product to customer service. I don't want to indulge on this, but for those who are corporate space, I know you have an idea of what is happening in the world. It doesn't stop there. We have others. We are also moving from transactional, behavioral, instinctive to evidence-based, social capital to knowledge capital, centralized to decentralized, and of course, we are moving from owning to shared environment. Question is, if you are a leader in this century, how ready and prepared are you to lead in this disruptive age, where there's too many disruptions that if you are not careful, you lose yourself. Lose yourself. Because we need leadership in this space as much as it is disruptive. How do we lead then in that context? Now, in 2021, June, we were doing some online search, and at the heart of COVID-19, we were doing there's something we do, especially for people who love data in data science. There's something we are doing which called web scraping. Web scraping is where you can be able to run an algorithm which tells you what people are searching in the internet right now, even right now as we speak. And we do this as in data science space a lot. So we were trying to do a research. What are people searching for around this time? Guess what? We had 1.5 billion online searches in the Google search engine. Not people asking where to get my next job, not asking how to get who to marry, not searching what's the best holiday destination, where to buy my Ferrari. No. Guess what people are searching? When humanity was challenged to the corner, when everybody was fearing about their life, when jobs were disrupted, when we lost our jobs and close shops and go and work from home, and amassed universe, guess what people were searching? The highest search in the Google search engine was how to find my life purpose. What does that tell you? When you are reset, what you call default setting, like the way you can reset your mobile phone to the default setting, you default because we have a lot of cosmetic identity that's been shaped by the world. But when you are carried to the corner, the first thing that actually you'll be questioning is, by the way, why am I here? A very serious conversation. No wonder even Harvard Business Review in February, I think it's February 2022, they did a research and I said the next position in the boardroom, they call it the C-level position after the CEO, chief operating officer, chief marketing officer, chief human resource, the C-level. If you start then, maybe I'm going to share with Barbara, she can circulate that. They wrote an article in February 2022 and they said the next position in the C-level space is something they call CPO. CPO means what? Chief Purpose Officer. It looks quite very easy, but let me tell you, the world is on a reset. They say that the next C-level position that was so much, and you check some of the Fortune 50 companies in the world, they have already started hiring such positions. And a CPO is almost like a Chief Impact Officer, literally. A role that actually is focusing on the why of the organization, because you have an individual purpose, but also you have the purpose for the organization that you're leading. Research done by also CB Insights, which is also a research organization, they said, you know why startups fails, businesses fails? Lack of need. What is need? We live because, and we are relevant because of a need we address in the society. Now, if Nelson Mandela did not find apartheid in South Africa, his life is in vain. Because the validation and the impact of Nelson Mandela is because there was a need South Africa fight against apartheid. If you remove the need, you remove the reason why Nelson Mandela was born. I hope you get that clear. It is the need in the people and planet that validate your existence. If there is no need, your purpose is meaningless. And our leadership, if you are not fulfilling a need in the market, a need in the planet and the people, you are irrelevant at that point because you not live for yourself. For those who are believers, now, if there was no sin, man never sinned. For those who study the Bible, if there was no fallen nature of man to sin against God in Genesis 1, guess what? Jesus Christ is a scam then. Because he only came because there was fallen nature. So if you remove the need for redemption, even the Messiah is invalid. Now, I hope you get that concept clear, that our relevance is defined by the need in people and planet that we fulfill or become a redemptive agency of change. So if you remove that need, we never. Now, for businesses, if there's no need you're addressing in the community, guess what? That business is invalid. And it is very unfortunate that 8% of even businesses are all started and they are sustained by survival. It's a very worrying statistics. It's started and sustained through survival. I have less than 30 minutes to, actually 20 minutes to close my talk. So bear with me, in the next few minutes, I'll be climaxing. So even if the organization is full of purposelessness, and we then to build a case for purpose and leadership. Just to give you some few perspectives, there's a research done by Executive Search Review newsletter in LinkedIn. It's a good newsletter for executives just to follow through. And it says, mission-driven organizations have become even more attractive places to work today due to having a purpose-driven focus, a meaningful and enduring reason for being, and that aligns to long-term needs in community. What is this statement telling you? That if you are a leader currently, and I have seen this practically because in our HR consultants, sometimes we do executive hires for, executive positions. And you find their employees currently, because they are so empowered, they will even ask you, by the way, what does this organization stand for? What is your purpose as an organization? And you find they are trying to prove that if you don't tell them why you exist as an organization, I don't want to work for you. You can give me all the money, that's not what I'm looking for. So employees currently are trying to look for purpose-led organization to work for. But who model that culture? It's you as a purpose-led leader. This is the quest for purpose-led leadership. That people can be attracted to your organization, not because you are paying them a lot of money, not because you have heavy benefit package. No, what you call employee value proposition. No, but because they can see you start for a just cause, and there is an enduring reason for existence as an organization. It doesn't stop there. McKinsey, who I know mostly we know, McKinsey also published this, especially just within COVID, that according to McKinsey, when employees find their work to be meaningful and purposeful, their performance improves by that 3%. And they are 75% more committed to the organization, meaning they can be retained, they can work longer, and they are 49% less likely to leave that organization. Yes, not because of salary increment, by them finding meaning and purpose on what they do on a daily basis. Because at every heart of human being, there's quest for meaning, there's quest for purpose. So if I find that, I'm likely to be fulfilled even with the literal pay that you're giving me. And that's the reason why in the 21st century, we have disrupted all the traditional things we used to do in organizations. We used to do planning, organizing, coordinating, supervising, controlling. Those were traditional management functions. They have all been disrupted because we have to anchor people from the concept of doing things to becoming. I know I'm moving very fast. We don't have time really to get to a lot of details of this, but just to help you anchor into that consciousness of there is quest for purpose-led leadership. Now, we usually have three things in life. There's the desire to have things, which we call the having the outer life. There's the desire to do things, and there's the desire to become. Apparently, the nature of life usually pushes focus on the having and acquiring. So we are busy acquiring things, acquire a title, acquire the next certification, acquire a PhD, acquire a title deed, acquire a logbook, acquire. And also a drive for execution, motions, executing activities, project to a project. But with the very layer focus on the reason why we are called human being. We are not called human doing. You are not called human having. You are called human being. What is the being? Being is continuous transformation to the very existence of who you're becoming, and then that is redemptive. And that has to do with purpose. Because purpose has something to do with the becoming. This is the reason why, again, I make this prediction that the future is bright for adaptive and redemptive purpose-led organization. If you're working for one, there's future. If you're not working for one, then you have an opportunity to transform your organization to become a redemptive purpose-led organization. And it's because there's a principle of life here. I know there's too much information, you bear with me. But because it's been recorded, you can be able to watch this later. Now, any product of design, when I have these, I have a mug here with me, and it's kind of a thermos. This small thermos here can only achieve its highest potential. We call that being, the form. When the initial conditions and the intent and the energy and force that made it or manufactured it or created it is aligned and fulfilled. Now, guess what? If you're a human being and you are meant to fulfill a purpose, the only time you can achieve the highest potential, it's when the original conditions that created you are all fulfilled. That calls for an elevated consciousness to focus on who are we and why do we live, and that's purpose again. I promised to talk about the guy who I mentioned, who is selling clothes and dressing people. Let me give you a perspective for this. When you are selling clothes, I've used this as an example because this is a practical guy I have met, and I draw a lot of learning from people that you interact with every day. When you're selling clothes, guess what happens? You are transactional. And the business philosophy is about what? The customer experience for you will be sell faster, sell more. I know that is familiar when I mention, for those who are in business world, sell faster and sell more. We call that profit first mindset. The focus for you is, in the opportunity of sustainability, is as long as there are products to sell and people willing to buy, you are in business. The social impact in selling clothes is, you can learn a CSR. CSR is what you corporate social responsibility. The reason why many organizations have a CSR program is actually a side hustle to try to silence guilt. Because you have made too much exploitation on one side, then you start a department called a CSR to kind of appear in a public relations that you're actually a corporate citizen. Sometimes I have a problem with that because the core business that you're doing should be the redemptive impact, not a certain department you create called a CSR. Then look at the other side of redemptive purpose-led business. It is modeled around raising people. That's human-centered. The opportunity for sustainability is as long as there are people that need, not product to sell, or who need to be dressed, I am in business. I hope you can see the connection there. These are two different business philosophies. One is transactional, the other one is purpose-led, which is redemptive. So question is, in our own organization, what is our business philosophy? What is our organizational leadership philosophy? And have we been able to give an organization to an extent they define why we exist, that's a purpose, what we need to do to fulfill the purpose, which is the mission, the level of ambition, which you call the vision, and the beliefs, behaviors, and mindsets, which you call the values, before we get our playbook, which is our strategy. Now, I want to give you an assignment. If you go and study some of the leading organizations right now, there's something they are changing in the way they operate. They are actually dropping the vision statement and maintaining only the purpose and the mission. Do you know why? I'll give you that homework. If I have an opportunity to speak to you, I can be able to dissect that further. You have organizations that have discovered what you need mostly is the purpose, the why, and the mission. The purpose, the vision become an internal enabler, which you don't even have to promise the world out there. It will become an internal statement. It's for ourselves. But what you promise the world out there is the why and the mission. It's a very interesting research that is being done. It's kind of globally shifting the way we have always faced. Initially, we used to start with the vision, and then we go to the mission. Now we have changed that. We are starting with the purpose, which is the why, the mission, then the vision become an internal enabler that gives us an ambition on the direction we are taking. Now, what is the mindset of a purpose-led leader? A purpose-led leader, the traditional one, was looking for this statement: what works best for our organization? That's very selfish. The purpose-led leader mindset is what works best for the desired human and planetary impact we exist for, even if I'm not the one to fulfill it. That's why I was very excited to hear some of the things that you're saying. You guys, you want to build a movement, an ecosystem, a community, that is actually a purpose-led mindset, where you actually come to realize you need others to collaborate, to co-create for impact. And the world is not scarce. We need to complement each other. I need Barbara. I need Nikita. And your unique nature need to collaborate with my unique nature to form a greater impact. But it takes almost deliverance to embrace that mindset. Why? We have been taught to compete. We've been taught to be competitive, not to be co-creative. And that's a huge disruption when you shift towards purpose-led mindset. I feel like I think I've overindulged a lot, so I may almost be toning down so that I can have a quick question and answer session. I know we know the philosophy of leadership. There's something called transformational leadership, which aligns very well to purpose-led, where in the beginning of your career, you influence by intellectual stimulation. If you're an accountant, you know how to do accounting.
You still have 40 minutes?
40 minutes. Wow.
You still have 40 minutes, so
right.
it is well.
Okay, I'm going to do maximum 20 or 15, then I can narrow a Q&A session. Thank you so much for that. Now, in the tradition, what we call transformational leadership, there are 4 dimensions or levels of leadership. Number 1, all of us, if you find yourself, how you got into leadership or managerial, for example, was mostly because of your technical skills. So you are a finance guy, you know how to do financial analysis. You are a HR, you know how to do recruitment, performance management, employee relations, and all that. You're a project manager, you know how to do project scoping and all that. We call that intellectual stimulation. When you begin your career, mostly you rise through leadership through intellectual influence. You understand this. In myself, I love numbers, I love analytics. So in a way, because of my analytical nature, I will do so those models, all those things. I get promoted to become a supervisor or a town manager because I can be able to articulate things using data. That is intellectual stimulation. But over time, you start becoming conscious about other people, people-driven. You start thinking, hey, I need to be a mentor, a coach. I need to have genuine concerns. In emotional intelligence, you learn empathy. I need to be empathetic. And therefore, I more put myself into the shoe of others, genuine concern of the needs of the followers or the others. That we call that individual consideration, where I don't quote a policy. I don't have to quote a manual if I'm in an organization. I will listen to you and I'll empathize with you and I contextualize in a personalized way your need. I don't generalize you in a demographic. One of that is what we call inspiration, where now you rise to a level where you motivate people, you inspire people, and all that, and that's quite very good. And leadership, of course, without this part, which is inspiration, because you're also a motivator anyway, you're a catalyst of motivation and energy, you require a lot because you feed what you call passion on others. But there is where the rubber meets the road. And the rubber meets the roads at what you call purpose-led, where you become a model by walking the talk. Now, this is where mostly we have a challenge. How do you become a model? So that you are not the doctor who tells me to stop smoking, but you are the same doctor smoking. How do you translate the doctor to go from knowledge to conviction? Remember I said in one of the mysteries in the world is where you have too much knowledge, little conviction. So for you to be a role model, then it means you have to become fast before you do. So leadership is not what you do. Many people have a checklist. In fact, I happened to interview people who tell me I have done a lot of leadership program, I can quote models, but I ask them one question. So who have you become? That question is not very easy. Who have you become then? You have attended all leadership academies from one graduation to another. Question is, who have you become? Because leadership has to push you to become first. When you become, you will have even the obligation, the authority, the moral authority to inspire others by your life. That concept of becoming is a very heavy concept. And that's why I know we talked about role model, but sometimes that statement is usually used in a very buzzword. So we have to live in leadership that has first of all become before doing. Now, in our journey, just to give a brief on something we call purpose and leadership journey, we follow this model. I know it may not be very clear to you. We follow this model. This model has various stages. There are 6 levels for becoming a leader. The first and foundation is what we call purpose-led convictions. You have to have an elevated consciousness of the needs in other people in which you yourself are called to lead. Now, what does that tell you? That your relevance is only as varied as to the needs in other people that you are addressing. As I said, Nelson Mandela, if there was no apartheid in South Africa, his life was just invalid. There's no validation. Now, question for you is this: have you conceived convictions in your life? What are your convictions? If you ask that question to many people, they can't describe. Mostly they'll tell you the values. Now, values are not convictions. Values are outcomes from convictions. Now, what is convictions? Conviction is the truth in the knowledge that activates you? I know that's a heavy statement to dissect. So convictions is the truth in knowledge or through knowledge that activates you. What is that? Now, second level is what we call vulnerability. Ladies here, we cannot become purpose-led leaders if we are not vulnerable. But vulnerability means acceptance of the things that we need to fill in our gaps, because we are also not perfect. So we're in a constant pursuit of personal transformation, but it has to start by us accepting that we need it. The third level is what we call personal transformation. You cannot become a purpose-led leader if yourself, it has not worked for you. Now, unfortunately, let me maybe highlight this, which probably you may be more enabled than myself, for those that are coaches here. Guess what? There are people who tell you, I'm going to coach you financially. They call themselves financial coach, but it has not even worked for them. Meaning, the principles you are coaching me has not worked for you first. And it's very unfortunate because, again, sometimes we have this vibe, or what you call the threads. Just because coaching has become the thing of the day, everybody's rushing there. But we forget, the only way to build authority in that coaching is, first of all, for you to be transformed by the concept that you live for. Such that if you're becoming my career coach, have it worked for you first, so that you become the model. It has to be personal transformation first, then you'll have a model even to showcase to me. How can I become a purpose coach if I'm myself not living my purpose? It is very difficult. Because how would I have an authority to come and tell you, Nikita, there's a life purpose and I can coach you how to find it, discover it, and leverage and use it in your life? How can I have that authority if myself as Gabriel, I'm not living my purpose full time? I should I'm doing right now was a side hustle. So I'm already doing other things. But then this coaching is a side hustle. That is already deception. Because I won't have authority. I won't have authority even influence you as a role model. We are lacking that in many of leadership and coaching sphere. We are currently, by the way, doing a survey, a global survey on what you call a global purpose coaching experience, where we are asking people what you experience through coaching. And I know we have done it before, and sometimes we find people telling me, or maybe responding to the survey and saying, I have attended all this coaching, but I don't think I have gotten the real impact or the real transformation. It's because sometimes we follow the threads, what is happening out there. Now, number 4 is what we call redemptive impact, where we are empowering generations, we are empowering people, or you're impacting people on the planet in a redemptive way. The word redemptive means, were it not for your existence, the creation will suffer. That's why the word redemptive, it's a very critical word there. Redemptive impact. That were it not for your existence, humanity, creation will suffer. If Nelson Mandela never existed, there are millions of people who probably could have already been persecuted through their path in South Africa. We have a Nobel Prize winner in Kenya called Professor Wangari Maathai. That you're saying, if Professor Wangari Maathai never existed, the vegetation, she was fighting for the green movement. Humanity and creation will suffer because of her not being born. And remember the question I asked you, what will creation miss if you are never born? Because there's a redemptive nature of our existence that if you are never born, people are going to struggle. Now, do you know there are people who could be in prison because maybe one of us here have neglected their purpose? Do you know there are people who could probably have been committing suicide because one of us here, as a leader, is not doing their work? Do you know there are marriages that are breaking or divorced because maybe is one of here who probably could be a redemptive agent for that? This is the seriousness of purpose, because purpose connects you to the need of others in which you offer redemptive impact. Then guess what is the climax of purpose-led leader? One way to assess your leadership maturity in purpose is humility. We usually say in our purpose-led leadership, and this is a series we run actually for 6 months. We have a 6-month purpose-led leadership. So I'm actually just highlighting very high-level concepts. The only way actually to demonstrate you have really lived your life as a leader in a purpose-led way is actually humility. By just discovering that God used you. Really, that you are the one that God has used you to do this, it leaves you humble. Because we have 8 billion people in the world. He could have chosen to use somebody else. But guess what? He chose you, Dorcas. He chose you, Babla and Nikita. Just by that realization, let me tell you, it cannot leave you proud. You'll be humbled to the ground that God really used you. And the purpose was entrusted to you to execute. And every one of us has a unique opportunity to be humble if you feel our purpose. We call that translation. Translation means this. I'll give you an example. For those who are maybe remember our science, biology, chemistry, physics, there's a place we used to learn things we call radioactivity. Radioactivity is where we are told there are elements like uranium, which exist and they constantly decay. They are decaying every day. And that's why we do what we call carbon dating. For those who study the fossils, if you want to study how old the fossil is, you use what you call carbon dating, because you can test the level of decay any element has existed and you can tell the age. Now, that process is very interesting. Do you know what? When you're born and you live your life in a purpose way, you actually start decaying. And I'm using the word decay carefully here. What does that mean? You decompose yourself into others. That's why you find a purpose-led leader, when they die, you'll find their existence is kind of left in other people. You'll find there's a bit of it in maybe inside so-and-so. There's a component of you inside maybe Nikita. There's a component of you inside Patricia. There's a component of you that was left with Agnes. So like when you're dying, you have left yourself in other people's life, but you kind of are almost empty because you have paid the debt. That's what purpose do for you. Okay? It leaves you humble because you almost actually dispense into other people's life that you have no room for pride and arrogance. When you find leaders with the pride and arrogance, they are actually still not purpose-led leaders. Now, there are 4 things that actually characterize that process. 4 of them, and then I'm almost getting into my close. Number 1 is that there is an elevated consciousness of the need of, first of all, of God and also of the needs in people. Then you establish convictions. Then there's lifetime commitment you make. We say purpose is for a lifetime, not a job that you retire. And then finally, an intimate communion within a community. And I appreciate this team here because you already are rooted into this. You're building a community of women leaders, an ecosystem, a marketplace, a fellowship. I liked that because it aligned with number 4, an intimate communion and community. Now, if I'm to describe it, the elevated consciousness is about, allow me to use God here because I'm a believer, but even when you don't believe in God, there's a way we still have that target. That there's awareness of self, others, and the missional needs in the people and planet. You can't be redemptive if you are not attached and connected to the awareness of the needs in people. The number 2, God's will towards who you are becoming and the purpose-led transformation that you need to pursue in the planet and purpose. That conviction, you have to have it. The commitment to continuously transform through your mindset, of course, behaviors, relationships, empowerment, and building transgenerational legacy. You have to have that lifetime commitment. And finally, you have to be in an intimate communion and community. That's fellowship. You can see your word, I think, for Dorcas, who was introducing this movement, the fellowship aspect. You have to be in a continuous fellowship, of course, with God and others within a kingdom community. That's why we repeat these statements, which I would encourage you to repeat. And I think as I come to the end of my talk here, can we say this? And you can open your videos. And I want us to have these 5 statements. We pronounce them. You say, I will make it known. I will make it real. I will make it happen. I will make it stick. I will work on becoming a better version of myself. I am a purpose-led leader. I lead with the Siri. Now, that Siri, I'll give you a brief of it. That Siri means speed, innovation, resilience, and impact. Siri in Africa here in a Swahili language means secret. But for us, it's an acronym of I am a leader with a secret. But that secret is an abbreviation of speed. I lead with speed, innovation, resilience, and impact. And it's part of something we call the JET leader. Can we do justice and repeat this after I say 1, 2, 3? We repeat from the I will make it known all the way up to I lead with the Siri. That okay, up to the end, I execute with speed, I drive innovation, I am resilient, I am intentional, and I am intentional about impact. If you finish there, I'll be good to go. I'm just going to make one announcement, and then we are good to go. I can ask for question and answer. Are we ready? Show me with a thumbs up.
Yes.
Thumbs up. Women with a Siri, can you show me a thumbs up? Okay, good.
Let's do this.
Good. In the count of 1, 2, 3, I will make it
I will
known.
make it known.
Make it known.
I'll make it real.
Make it real. I will make it happen. I will make it stick.
To become a better
I will work
version.
on becoming a better version of
Better
myself.
version.
I am a purpose-led leader. I lead with Siri.
I lead with
I
spirit.
execute with speed. I drive innovation. I am resilient,
intentional about
impact.
Awesome.
Impact.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. May this be really to your life. May you become a better version, focus on who you are becoming than what you're doing. And this will make you a global purpose leader. And you're going to have impact that transcends your generation. An announcement, we run a whole leadership program we call the JET Leader, which goes through 4 phases. That's part of what I'll be able to express today. And allow me to jump slide. I think I have already talked about that. There are things that I'm going to share later through slides, maybe through Barbara, some of the mindset of a personal leader. Now, as I wind up, you will have to stop complaining about what is in it for me, and you become a person who says, what is it by me through me? That's a very different mindset. You have to stop waiting for this to happen, because you are not an effect. You are not a reactor. You are a cause. You should make things happen. By your existence, generation should transform. You make things happen. You don't wait for things to happen. You are not a victim. You should exercise dominion. God created us and humanity for dominion. You should be impacting the generation and our environment around us. You are not for survival. You are for thriving. You should not be rigid. You are adaptive and open-minded. So I learned 4 signature program. One is something we call fit living, where you fight to fulfill your purpose. The other one is purpose leadership, which I've just mentioned right now, the JET leader. Then there's a purpose-led venturing for those who are in business. There's a program for you become a purpose-led entrepreneur. And finally, certified purpose-led coach, which we learn as a signature program for certification. You can become a certified purpose-led coach through our areas. So I think I would park there, give you a matching order. There's a scripture I like quoting in the Bible that says, Revelation 1:3, blessed are they that lead, hear, and take to heart and do that which they have heard and listened to. Thank you so much, and God bless you. I want to park there. I can take 1 or 2 questions, and as we climax this edition today. It was my pleasure engaging you, and God bless you so much. Back to you, Dorcas.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Coach. I want to request you to put back the slide before this because we need to be able to take that revelation seriously.
All right. The one for matching orders?
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think this is where we unmute and make some noise, good noise for Coach Gabriel. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. God bless you.
So much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. So let's mute. We are going to take a few questions.
God bless you.
Awesome. Nikita, help me mute everyone. Even me, I'm muted. We are going to take some questions for Coach Gabriel. The session was awesome. People didn't want it to end. So let's take some questions and then we should be closing in a few minutes. Any questions? Shoot your hand up. Mame, you have a question.
Yes, please. I want
Go
to.
ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, boss, for this insightful session. We are grateful for this. Please, I want to find out, how do I identify my purpose?
Right. Thank you. Good question. Maybe I can take a few more, like 2 more, then I can respond to all of them.
Okay. Let's take another one. Are there hands? Do we have questions for Coach? I think people are happy. Okay. Minister Gabriel Mutasa, go ahead. And thank you for logging on, my shepherd.
Thank you so much, Pastor Dorcas, and thank you so much, Coach. I didn't get your name all right.
Gabriel.
Coach Gabriel.
Coach Gabriel, yes. I came in a little later, but I enjoyed the last bits of your presentation. Yes, I'm in Uganda, Kampala, and Pastor Dorcas happens to go with at church with me. Now, I wanted to inquire from you, at the last bit you talked about a coach telling other people what has actually worked in your life. But realize that my view, I realize that sometimes that may deter someone who is still in the process of perfection or in the process of becoming whatever he wants to become, waiting to perfect themselves before they can actually coach. Yet actually, we have seen instances where professors who are very poor have produced governors, have produced very rich men. I want you to shed more light on that, where, yes, you might not be at that place of, say, perfect, but you can be able to motivate another one, and actually they produce results that are better than yours. That has even actually happened in my real life. So I want to bring it back to you just to shed more light, where we have seen teachers who taught us, and now they taught us, and now we are better than them, quote unquote. God bless you.
Right.
Thank you so much. Okay. That question. Okay. Doreen Namara, over to you.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you, Coach Gabriel, for this insightful. I would want to draw purpose and job finding, because at times we would jump into jobs because it's what is available, whereas the purpose is in a totally different line. So how do we get to realign ourselves back to course of purpose? Because sometimes the innate feeling to achieve the worldly pleasures overtakes and overrides our purpose. So how do you drive the truck back to road after listening to Coach Gabriel? Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doreen. I think I will take the last one from Harriet. Harriet, are you there?
Yes, Coach. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Coach, for the great insight and the information you've shared. Now, I want to find out, is purpose the same as talent, or there's a difference? Because really, when you're trying to find out, when you're trying to discover your purpose, sometimes you have a talent and you don't know whether it is now your talent that is your purpose or there's a difference. I really need to understand that. Thank you.
All right, good. Thank you so much. Can I attempt the 4 questions?
Please go ahead.
All right, okay, good. So I'll begin with the question. I'll follow the sequence. How can I discover my purpose? I know I may not be able to do justice in terms of that.
I think, Coach, let me take one more. Let me take one more, then you answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Yvonne, over to you.
Thank you, Coach Dorcas, and thanks, Coach Gabriel. Mine is a simple one. Life throws a lot to us, and we tend to hustle for survival, make money. At what time do you stop living for making money and you start living the purposeful, driven life?
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. Let me attempt to answer the question in the sequence. The first question was about how can I discover my purpose? Now, I may not do justice because that question I answered it in 10-week series. So, but let me try to complex it. Number one is that, and especially for those who maybe believe that you are a product of creation, not a random mutation that has evolved through random mutation, as the evolutionist will tell us. But if you believe in creation, I can say this: you don't give yourself purpose. That means whoever created you is the author. So this thermos here does not give its own function. No. The design and fabrication of the functioning of these thermos is in the intent and the mind of the author, the person who manufactured it. Now, if you believe that you are a created being, then of course purpose is given by God. However, let me give you where most people get a challenge. We have 4 dimensions of purpose. There's something we call universal purpose. Universal purpose is the purpose for everything in the universe, including the germs, the fungi, the microbiome, the galaxy, the stars, the comets, everything. Even the things that sometimes we consider harmful, there's a purpose they are fulfilling. Now, most people you'll hear saying, my purpose is to serve God, glorify God. My purpose is to encourage others. They are all general. We call them universal purpose. Everybody should do it, including even the antelopes, the cheetah, the viruses, the germs. They are all created things. They all serve purpose, and there's general purpose. Then the second one is something we call the purpose for humanity. Whether you believe in God or not, there is a certain natural dispensation of humanity that is common to every man. For example, exercising of dominion. Only man was given authority to dominate other creation, not dominate each other, dominate creation. So dominating the fish, the birds in the air, extracting minerals from our craft, that means the gold, the diamond, only man has been given that dominion. And in fact, they don't have to believe in God to exercise that. Number 3 is what we call the purpose of a generation. If I had time, I would have gone through other concepts there. If there's another topic I'm doing for free call now, the fit living, and I'll go through that individual aspect. Now, in that one is where there's purpose for the age. Again, let me quote the Bible. There's somewhere that Bible says that, and David, after accomplishing the purpose of God in his own generation, then he saw decay and was buried. What does that mean? That within the time you're living in, your purpose is connected to the age. You can't be born in the 21st century and you're supposed to serve a purpose of 17th century. If apartheid did not exist during when Nelson Mandela was there, Nelson Mandela will be invaried again. So there has to be a certain divine nature of the time. One way to discover the purpose actually is around that concept of the age. Your purpose is connected to the age you are living in. This century we are living in, if you're able to hearken to the discernment of the needs in people and planet, your purpose is connected there. Now, the 4th dimension is what we call now the individual purpose of James, John, Gabriel, Nikita, Barbara, now an individual. We are 8 billion people in the world. We have individual specific assignment or an instruction of life to accomplish. Now, let me give you some few perspectives, because this one should have been another talk now about discovery. It's a whole topic that I need a lot of time. Now, do you know what? If I give you, let's say you are going through grief, meaning you maybe lost a loved one. And I said you 9 friends, you are very close friends, 9 of them. And the 10th one, I would even add a robot. And I give them a script, specific script. And I even tell them how to act and behave and how to empathize. They are going even to cry, shed tears, everything the same way. I said them to you because you're going through a difficult situation. Now, 9 people who are close friends and 1 is a robot with a script. Do you think you're going to experience the same grace, encouragement, empathy from all the 10 agents? Not at all. You'll find maybe person number 6, you actually remember and say, when so-and-so came, my life, I was encouraged out of that situation. Do you know why? That's where the purpose lies. We have very specific, biased, different grace that we dispense as an expression of God who is the author. You'll find that somebody will tell you, stop smoking, and you never stop smoking. But when do you even meet a stranger in the street and the stranger tells you, wait, stop smoking. That smoking is bad. Somebody doesn't know you. And actually, you from that day, it will become a transformation in your life. Somebody told me stop smoking, but there's something that's dispensing me. Now, when you start going through that process, you discover there's a spiritual dimensions to purpose. There's something supernatural that is beyond you. And it is hidden within your identity and your difference. Let me give you 2 other examples, then I can go to the next question. When you take medicine, there is always something we call active ingredients. Now, there's an assignment I usually give people when you are doing this purpose discovery series. And I tell them, go and ask 5 people who have you have impacted in your life. Talk to them, 5 people who have ever come to you and told you, you have been an impact to me. Ask them this question: how did it happen? How did you change and transform out of what I did? Now, when you take medicine, there's always the carrier of the medicine, that is a capsules, but there's always the inner active ingredients. Now, purpose has to do with what happens in other people's life or the planet itself by you doing what you're doing. And to make that point clearer, I'm going to give an example of a lady who was part of our cohort in Purpose Coaching, who was a public speaker. So she could actually say, I'm a public speaker. Is this lady, when they go into a meeting, they go to the stage, the whole stage is on fire. People are even shouting and waving handkerchiefs. Even when she has said nothing, she radiates energy. And when we went through that process, at one point she discovered, actually, my purpose is not public speaking. That is what I do. When I speak, people, I am a confident enabler. I enable people. I spark people with confidence. And that's the purpose. What is happening in other people's life as you do what you do? We mostly mistake and focus on the career: public speaker, coach, teacher, an accountant. Those are containers. It's like the medicine. But what is the active ingredient inside that medicine? That's your purpose. Now, last example is, I have somebody who actually, he has been called into the space of rehabilitating drug addicts, or call them Alcoholics Anonymous. This person, who is not very closely to me, when he goes to a new town, he will always find himself attracting drunkards, and he has a language for them. He opened his mouth to speak to drunkards, they remain calm. You can imagine drunkards listening to you with nobody speaking. That guy has that grace. If you try to go and speak to drunkards, they are going to start abusing you, shouting you. He has a certain special grace upon it, in which he can actually go to a new town and he don't know anybody. And when he starts speaking to drunkards, he has a special grace to them. Because you discover purpose is an expression of God's grace to humanity and to the planet through. You become like a water dispenser. You're dispensing God's grace. Now, I know that's a lot to unpack, but it's a whole session that we learned for 10 weeks, actually, just to get that right. It's a whole, we have tools and methodology we use to do that. Now, there's a question about purpose and talent. Now, talent is an enablement through grace and gift. The challenge with the talent is one. You can be gifted, and we usually do spiritual gift inventory, where there's a tool, an online tool where you assess yourself and you see the top 5 spiritual gifts. But there's one problem. Gifts are not direction. They are not directional. You can have a gift and abuse it. I can have a gift of creativity, but I use it for destruction. So if you're saying you follow talent, it is very risky. Talent do not give you direction. They give you potential. Potential is capability that you can do something. Question is, what should you do? The only thing that gives talent direction is purpose. So purpose is the why. So what I will say is your talented gift should serve the purpose. It's like when I want to start a business, I need capital. I need capital, human resources, technology. Talents are enablers for the purpose, but talents themselves do not give you the direction of what to do. They don't tell you what to do with it. You can misuse the talent. Now, I found that point, of course, is that then it means if you want to assess that you are living your purpose, one thing you can almost for sure see is when you anchor your life in purpose, all the gifts you have, they are all utilized. When you find people when they are doing some side hustles, where if you do a spiritual gift inventory and you find you have 3 major strong gifts, and you're not utilizing all of them in your current engagement, chances are your environment or what you undertaking may not necessarily be the full purpose led. You may have to then to do some side hustles on the side to utilize some potential that you have. Now, when I discovered this, and event was for me, all my gifts, I have 5 core gifts. These are very strong gifts. I use them in what I do today. Remember, I told you if I have to define my profession is very deep. I'm a data scientist. I'm an AI expert. I can do those artificial intelligence coding, programming. I am a strategy consultant. I am organizational transformation, a certified HR consultant. Those are all containers. Guess what? Even in my identity and when I was describing myself, I never used any of them. Those are just containers. At the heart of it is I'm enabling transformation for fit living. So don't be tempted to use talent to discover purpose. No, the talent should follow purpose. It's the same thing also with passion. Passion is not purpose, because what you love does not necessarily mean is what you need to do. And I usually tell people in the Bible, nobody we read in the Bible pursued their passion. But motivational speakers will tell you, follow your passion, do what you are good at, do what you love. Let me tell you, it can also be very misleading. Why? Sometimes what we love is for our own selfish interest. Unless what you love is activated by convictions of the need in others, that's the only time you can call it purpose-led passion. Be careful with those statements. So what you love may be not necessarily what the world needs. And that's a catch. I don't have time to dispose that. Let me ask the second question, the third question. The question of, must you really become the role model for you to have an authority then to become a purpose-led leader? Let me say this, life is a journey. You will never reach there. Meaning, even for myself, as much as let's say I'm a purpose coach, I can't say I've fully accomplished my full purpose. No, it's a journey. But the thing is, even when I'm in that journey, I can calibrate the transformation, the things I'm telling you that has worked at my level. Is the power of the testimony. Because guess this, when you're explaining something from only a point of knowledge, your agency is only a dispenser of knowledge, but not a model of influence to show me what has worked. Now, the thing is, if you really want to demonstrate authority, there's a level of transformation you also need to require first, even if it's not 100%, even if it's in the journey of 1 to 10, there is 1 out of the 10 things that at least I can demonstrate. The others then I can dispense as form of just knowledge in a transactional way. And that's okay. That's where teachers will teach you. They tell you the things you need to know. You sediment them, you apply them, and you become 10 times bigger than that teacher. Nothing wrong with that. But there has to be at least one thing out of all that body of knowledge that is working for this teacher to be able to establish authority, because that gives you human connection. If I come and I share my story and tell you, you know what, I was running this business and I was auctioned and I recovered from that business. Do you know what? It is so powerful than leading a case study of a case in Australia which you have never traveled. But here you are hearing it from a real testimony. What happens is that when you don't have modeled influence, you lack some sense even of connection. It's even hard to have empathy because you only be quoting from utopia, a reality that exists in heaven. And it's okay because that knowledge may still work in someone's life and they apply it and it works for them. But it works more better when it has worked, even if not everything, 1% of it has worked for you. You'll find you have an authority and confidence, and also you're able to build legacy. Fourth question, purpose versus job alignment. I don't know whether I'm allowed to speak a little bit of something that may be appearing very controversial here. Can I say this? We are living in a Babylonian system, capitalist world. And when you are growing up, you are taught to compete, even from school and exams you are doing, to compete with each other. And it has a good way because it provokes you to work extra hard. But we were never taught mostly to compete within ourselves, meaning me competing and outdoing my previous version of myself. Now, the world is towards you, first of all, surviving. And I know we have gone through school and there's something they call Maslow hierarchy of need, which I usually say you have to handle it with carefulness. Because it's like a notion of you have, first of all, to meet the basic needs, the physiological needs, psychological needs, social needs, then towards the apex, self-actualize. I usually see that, and we study this, we dissect that Maslow hierarchy, and we come to realize it is not true. And we do that in our purpose coaching. It's a very huge disruption. Now, this is it. I even quote the Bible again. When Jesus was commissioning the disciples, he said this: do not worry what to eat, what to drink, the clothing, even the shelter. And I think there's a reason why he was warning his disciples to do that. He was warning them because if you pursue those survival things, it is very hard to focus on needing others when you are so obsessed with your own selfish interest. When you're on survival mode, it is almost impossible to serve a transgenerational impact. Look at Madera, living in prison for 26 years, honestly speaking. If he was looking for his life, he's looking, I want to spend nights with my warm bed with my wife, those things. Those are selfish issues. So because of the push for survival, it's actually one of the hindrances for living purpose-led life. Now, how do you do that alignment? I can say for me, mindset transformation first. You have to shift the worldview. By the time I'll talk you through what we call the 3 global worldviews and where humans struggle in those worldviews. I have a session maybe for another day for that. If you don't shift your worldview from that survival to the thriving realm of impact, you'll always pursue what you call capitalistic nature. Everything is for me, so what? It's a big disruption, but it takes a lot of mindset transfer to really transition from what you call survival mode to really get into impact. Now, let me tell you this. I worked in the corporate world for 13 years, rose up to become a head of departments, leading a department for more than 7 countries, multinational, and I was in that survival mode also myself. And I remember when I was leaving, because I'd already discovered my purpose for like 4 years before my exit. And therefore, even when I was leaving, I was still living my purpose, but I never resigned. I still worked for 4 years. I don't want people to resign because they have discovered their purpose. No, you can find something to do where you are. But the warrior of life was also kicking in me. Hey, I have a young family. I am repaying back a mortgage. I have to educate myself and do my next certification. My children have to go to the best school. All those things, let me tell you, they also crept into my fear. But when I acted in the act of obedience, guess what? For the last almost 10 years in this world now where I'm living and leading my own purpose ventures, not even one, I've never acted. In fact, my needs are over-provided that I have enough even to give others. But in that initial stage, because of the tradition of, I'm fearing, you can pursue your purpose and literally God will provide for it. Because it's the one who sent you. So that's how I can respond to that. But I think for more conversation, we can be able to talk about the purpose-led living, where now we talk about, today was more purpose-led leadership. You may notice that was only one dimension, but there's another whole series I learned for purpose-led living now. You finding, fulfilling your purpose and how you discover it and be able to live it in fullness. So I hope I have made some justice there in terms of responding to those questions, but I think some of them may be more answered in a different engagement.
Wow. Thank you so much, Gabriel. And I want to call upon Hilda Bira to give a vote of thanks before we can sign out. But also before we can sign out after the vote of thanks, you've talked about the Oktoberfest festival. Kindly share the cost for it and how one can get the details or where we can get details. I'm sure some ladies here would love to come for you in Nairobi. I don't know where it will be. And other details about how we can get into your coaching platforms. So you could share more about that as after Hilda has given us a vote of thanks. Hilda, over to you from cohort 2.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Dorcas. Once again, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On behalf of Tabitha Leadership Cohort 2, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. Grace for taking time to speak to us today, to deliver.
So Gabriel, now you're still thinking about Grace Munira.
Oh, sorry.
We are on Gabriel now. We've moved on.
Thank you.
Gabriel, apologies for that. Once again, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. Gabriel Nyamu for delivering such an insightful and very engaging talk. It is such, we have been impacted. You're very knowledgeable. You're very clear in your presentation. You have had the ability to connect with us even as we listen in from where we are. And you have definitely created a lasting impression on each one of us. And I am very confident that for each one of us, even as we leave this class that we've had today, we are going to be able to put most of the things that we've learned here into practice. There's been so many questions, and I know if we had a chance, we'd actually spend a day here. But we also want to appreciate you for taking your time. From what you are sharing, we understand that you have a very, very, very busy schedule, but we appreciate that you took time to share with us here today to see that you give of yourself selfless, that each one of us can be able to grow and to impact and grow past what we are currently doing today. Once again, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us. Thank you so much for taking time off to speak into our lives. Actually, you have spoken into our lives, and that is something that we do not take for granted. We look forward to applying these lessons into our lives, and we pray that Coach Dorcas is going to invite you back one more time so that we can be able to grow and grow alongside you. Thank you so much, and back to you, Coach Dorcas.
Thank you so much, Bira. And I know that Coach Gabriel, you have ambassadors now in Uganda. I know you've had many, but you've added on what you've been building in this country. So we look forward to a great partnership. I want to thank Barbara for introducing us to you. I want to thank the coaches. I want to thank the guests who have been here. I want to thank the team from cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3, and IHK team cohort 4 for being here. I know that the IHK team, their learning and development manager is in the house. And because it's one of our clients, I want him to say something before you can leave, and also connect with him so that when he calls you, I'm sure he's going to call you for a session. You know him. Ishmael, are you on? I didn't warn him, so I hope he's still on.
Yes,
Ishmael, are you
I
on?
am.
Awesome. Over
Yes,
to
I
you.
am.
Just use about 2 minutes.
I normally tell people that when I use the term that I've been schooled, it means that I've been taken back to class, given the practical tools, and now the ball is in my hands. I think I've been schooled today. If possible, please bring him back, because this is not enough. So thank you so much. It has been insightful, challenging, because I have so many questions within myself. How am I as a leader? redemptive work. What is my impact at global level, country level, department where I am, company, personal, family. I'm having so many questions within myself. So thank you so much, Dorcas. Thank you so much, our coach who has presented today. I hope I can have another session with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ishmael, and everyone else who has been on the call. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Coach Gabriel, of course, if you consider it in your heart, consider to come back. We will always create time for you. Thank you, Barbara, for connecting us to Coach Barbara. I told Barbara, I need to first see what he's doing because I'm not very spiritual in terms, but I am so spiritual, protective wise. So I said, I need to be sure that he is someone who understands the spirituality in what we do. And I am glad that you didn't disappoint, that we can connect from the divine perspective, because for me, one of the things I've had to learn as a coach is that while we tell people about purpose, about passion, purpose is given from the time we are in our mother's womb, because that's why God created us. He knew us before we were born, and because he knew us, he didn't create a mango tree to produce apples. He created a mango trees for mangoes. So I was created for that specific thing, and that is a big topic that I think we would actually love to get into. I will encourage people to really sign up for the coaching, but I think if you can consider it, you could give us a session on finding your purpose, and then people will be inspired to actually sign up for the mentorship sessions. So thank you again, Coach. I don't know if you have last parting shots. I feel so empowered. One question that is running in my mind: what will creations miss if I am not here, if I was never here, if I will? Anyway, partings from you, Coach Gabriel, and then we'll call it a day.
All right. Thank you so much, team. And I must also commend the beautiful work that this team is doing. The Tapita initiative, it's quite amazing to see remnant of the age pursuing a redemptive cause. What you're doing is already very, very critical and relevant to this age. I want to commend the whole PLP leadership for even having me and considering me to speak in this session. Yes, we, as I said, we are in a mission work. We are recruiting actually global ambassadors all over, and we're happy to have some team in Uganda. We have some others that are emerging in Nigeria. We have others that are emerging in Tanzania and also in Rwanda. And if you are there, I can hear people from Ghana here, and you want to become our ambassador, kindly feel free to reach out to us. They're going to give you the guidelines. About the upcoming events, as I said, 2 requests for me is that if you're in an organization, maybe you're working in a bank, insurance, government, and you may want us to do a sensitization talk on this purpose, we are doing it for free only in this month of October, because this is the International Month of Redemptive Purpose, as I shared in before. So we are availing ourselves. I have a team of other coaches, and we are giving this sensitization across the world. So that's an opportunity for you to take advantage, so long it's within the month of October. And on 31st, welcome to Nairobi, where we do now the annual Purpose-led Coaching Summit, Leadership Summit. And we shall have amazing speakers, global speakers that will be speaking to us on how actually they share their journey on how they have been able to live life that is purpose-led. Some of them are business founders, and some of them are corporate leaders, and you don't want to miss that. It's not very expensive, just only $120 in terms of the one-day event. Of course, you take care of your accommodation and travel. It's not that very expensive because it's a celebration. We actually want to do it for free, literally, so that you just show up. But just to take care of some basics, of course, just $120, and you can be able to attend the one-day Global Purpose Leadership Summit. If you may want us to reach out to you in terms of collaborations, we are happy. We do partnerships with partners across the world. So feel free. I've posted my contacts on the chat. You can reach out to us through my email address and also through the mobile number I've posted there. You can WhatsApp me, and we are going to engage. Just to make it a part in short is that God has a bigger picture for each one of us. Your existence is not just meant for survival, but it takes obedience and strong convictions to be able to live a purpose-led life. But it is possible. You can start with 1 step, just allowing yourself to be vulnerable to think that way. And by seeking, by searching, you always find the direction. So my wish for all of us is to live fit living, a fulfilling, impactful, and transcending life. God bless you so much, and looking forward. And for the request to do another talk, I'm happy, especially if it's maybe within October, I can do another free talk now about the purpose coaching, the individual purpose coaching. We usually do what you call 5F series. The F series means finding your purpose. That's the first F. Number 2 is how you fuel that purpose. Then how you focus it through individual strategy mapping. And then how you fruition it. And finally, how you future-proof it. Because you have to future-proof your life. Those 5 F's is what we cover, and I can give more perspective in the next speaking engagement. God bless you so much, and have a lovely weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, Coach Gabriel. I know Barbara is very proud of you. I want to give her the last the opportunity to be the last one to speak. Just say something in 1 minute, Barbara, and then pray for us to end the call. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach Gabriel. Thank you, Coach Dorcas, for allowing this. Like you had alluded to it wasn't easy convincing you to bring Gabriel on board. But yes, you appreciate that he feeds into what we are serving at Tabitha Initiative. And I'm thankful to God that he has enabled us to listen in and to pick something from what Coach Gabriel has offered. With that, I also, before I forget, I want to thank all the participants for having chosen to attend this early morning session for those who are not in Uganda, but even in Uganda, it's still early. Thank you so much for being present and participating fully. So let's come
I think Coach Minister Nikita could pray since she's a reverend.
Yes, please. Coach Nikita, over to you.
Oh, well, thank y'all so much. I thought I was gonna be sleepy, but I can assure you, because it is 1 a.m. now for my time. But let us pray. Lord, thank you so much for this very impactful session that we had with the Tabitha Leadership Program and with Coach Gabriel of Purpose First. Lord, thank you so much for all of the attendees and those that actually wanted to get on the call. I was receiving so many messages about they wanted to be on, but they couldn't be on. So thank you so much for just impacting those individuals, and they're very thankful for the recording. Lord, continue to strengthen and guide us and lead us. And we need every aspect of what Coach Gabriel has spoken about. So we want to be sure, Lord, that we do those things that have come across us and answer those questions. And I love the affirmations. So Lord, thank you so much for this session. Thank you for everyone that has actually put this together. And we ask this and so much more in your son Jesus' name. Amen and hallelujah.
Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Coach. I will definitely get in touch. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. God bless you. Enjoy.
God bless you.